Hey besties, it is your girl Vera. Today our female lead Shiwu is absolutely the ceiling of rational revenge stories. In her past life, they schemed against her together. But in this life after rebirth, she doesn't cry or make a fuss. She directly transforms into a high-level player plus inner court venture capital boss. You want to favor your concubine and destroy your wife. Sure, I'll throw money at your wedding. You want your white moonlight to manage the household? No problem. I'll hand over the authority directly to you. You'll soon find out what it means to lift a rock only to drop it on your own feet. Let's get into the drama. Barely a year after our marriage, my husband brought Lin Rue before me and shamelessly said he wanted to take her as a concubine. In my past life, I naturally refused no matter what. Lin Rue was flamboyant and arrogant by nature, relying on my husband's favoritism. She fought with me openly and covertly until the world turned upside down, stirring up the entire Jing'an Marquis manor into complete chaos. Later, I lost my 5-month-old child in my womb and was completely stripped of the possibility of bearing children, while Lin Rue also lost her life in the inner court power struggles. My reputation was thus completely ruined. The entire capital city of Shengjing was spreading that Shiwu, the mistress of Jing'an Marquis Manor, was foolish, jealous, and viciously scheming. My parents, for the sake of the century, an old reputation of the Duke Zhengguo's manor, took the initiative to bow their heads and agreed to let my husband marry another equal wife of high status. The one he married was his childhood sweetheart, Liu Wanyin. It wasn't until I was confined in the manor that I suddenly realized the one my husband Shen Zhaiheng truly loved all along was Liu Wanyin. Lin Rue and I were nothing more than stepping stones he used to pave his way and divert the elders' attention. I was locked in that manor devoid of sunlight, enduring 30 years in misery and isolation. Then I had a rebirth. During those 30 years that felt like boiling oil, I pondered day and night. As the legitimate eldest daughter of the Duke Zhengguo's manor, marrying into the Jing'an Marquis manor with a magnificent 10 Zanli wedding procession. I should have had everything at my beck and call. So why did I end up in such a state? My husband Shen Zhaiheng and his new wife Liu Wanyin played music in perfect harmony every day, probably having long forgotten what his original wife, even looked like. My parents, after adopting that equal wife as their goddaughter, pretended they had never given birth to me. This daughter who brought shame to the family, my child only 5 months along, who had just learned to kick gently in my belly, never got to see this world and left me forever. Was I, Shiwu, destined from birth to have such a fate? I swallowed my last breath carrying a heart full of resentment and unwillingness. When I opened my eyes again, I smelled the familiar agarwood fragrance from the golden beast incense burner. Before me was Lin Rue, with whom I had once fought bitter battles. She was young and beautiful, her hair styled in a fashionable cloud and drifting bun, wearing a jacket and skirt with broken and branch peony patterns, standing timidly behind my husband. The gaze she directed at me was outwardly respectful, but the slightly upturned corners of her lips couldn't hide her smug satisfaction. My heart trembled violently, and I suddenly realized I had been reborn. Shen Zhaiheng, just as in my previous life, spoke to me with 30% guilt and 70% certainty. Wu Rue has already given her body to me. I don't want to wrong her, nor do I want to deceive you. So I've come specifically today to discuss with you. Could you allow Rue to become a concubine of noble rank? In the future, in the inner quarters, you'll also have someone to serve and keep you company. On this day in my previous life, I was so enraged I lost all reason. Right in front of Shen Zhaiheng, he slapped Lin Rue hard across the face, shrieking hysterically that I would sell off this person who couldn't even make it onto the stage. But Lin Rue was an orphan girl. Her father had saved the old Marquise's life on the battlefield back then. To honor that debt of gratitude, the Marquis Manor took her in to raise her. That one slap of mine failed to drive Lin Rue away, and instead earned me the infamy of being ungrateful, jealous, and intolerant. I was publicly reprimanded by my mother, Zan-in-Zan-law. The fight to the death between Lin Roe and me began with that very slap. Coming back to my senses, I picked up the Celadon Zan glazed Jian Kiln teacup beside me, gently skimmed off the tea foam, and smiled. Sure. I looked at their stunned expressions and said gently, actually, I was thinking the same thing. Ruru is not young anymore. Keeping her in the manor without a proper title all this time. People gossip, and it doesn't sound good. Her father was, after all, a benefactor to the Marquis Manor. Even as a concubine, we cannot be negligent with the proper lishu. Why not have the accounting office withdraw some banknotes, and our Marquis Manor can hold a grand and proper concubine Zan-taking ceremony. Lin Rue's eyes suddenly lit up, and she asked in disbelief, Madam, you're not angry? Since I've married into the Marquis Manor, naturally I should regard my husband as heaven. If my husband wants to give you dignity, and I were to be jealous and petty, wouldn't that be slapping my husband's face? I said seriously, as the legitimate eldest daughter raised by the Duke's manor. I naturally have this much tolerance. After speaking, I turned to look at Shen Jiaheng and said with a smile, Jiaheng Tode's matter can happen once but not twice. Frequently taking concubines. First, it will make outsiders think you're indulging in women. And if the censors at the censorate submit a memorial about it, it would damage the emperor's regard for you. Second, it would also damage my Zhongguo Duke's manor's reputation, and then I wouldn't know how to explain when I return to my natal Jia. Shen Jiheng never expected that I would agree so easily. There wasn't the slightest bit of joy on his face at getting his wish. Instead, a trace of frustration flashed through his eyes extremely quickly. He was certain that deep down I had the aloofness and pride of a noble lady, and that I couldn't possibly tolerate sharing my husband with another woman just 1 year into our marriage. He deliberately pushed the willful Lin Roe in front of me to provoke a war between us, paving the way for that Liu Wanyin of his, who couldn't see the light of day. Unfortunately, in my previous life, I was blinded by rage and became a blade in his hand. Now that I agreed so readily, he didn't know how to continue this charade for a moment. Awu? Are you truly willing? Shen Jiaheng asked stiffly. I rose leisurely and intimately took Lin Rue's hand. There is no time like the present. Let's go to Mother Zan-in-Zan-Law's Fusho Hall right now, and settle this happy occasion. Upon arriving at Fusho Hall, Yi reported the matter of taking a concubine to my mother Zan-in-Zan-Law. Mother Zan-in-Zan-Law frowned and shook her head. What kind of rule is it to rush into taking concubines when you're still newlyweds? Ji Honggawu is your legitimate wife. Don't do things that would hurt her heart. Mother, your daughter Zan-in-Zan-Law truly consents to this, I replied respectfully. Mother Zan-in-Zan-Law looked at me, then at Lin Rue, whom Shen Jiheng was protecting behind him, and finally nodded in agreement under my strong urging. I had someone fetch the imperial calendar, and looked through it together with Mother Zan-in-Zan-Law, setting the auspicious day for taking the concubine on the 7th day of the 11th month, just 5 days away. Lin Rue felt she had finally made it through, and was so excited her cheeks flushed red, while Shen Jiheng only showed a face full of disappointment. I considerately made excuses for him. It seems my husband's wish has been fulfilled, and he is so overjoyed, he doesn't know what to do. Shen Jiheng suddenly snapped back to his senses, casually made an excuse about unfinished documents from the Ministry of Revenue, and got up to head to the outer study. I knew perfectly well that he was rushing to discuss countermeasures with his true beloved, so I went with the flow and ordered Lin Rue around. Concubine Lin, you've now gained official status. The outer study is cold and drafty. From now on, the task of keeping the Marquis company with your fragrant sleeves and grinding ink and adding charcoal will be entrusted to you. This concubine thanks Madam for her gracious favor. Lin Rue was overjoyed and chased after him, lifting her skirts. After they had gone far, my mother Zan-in-Zan-Law pulled me into her embrace with heartache. My dear child, you've truly been wronged today. I recalled the 30 years of bitter cold on the estate in my previous life, and my eyes immediately reddened. Borrowing this surge of resentment, I buried myself against my mother Law's knee, and choked out. Mother, since I married him, I am his wife who shares well and woe with him. If I had forcibly refused today, he would think of her day and night, and this marital bond would wear away sooner or later. Rather than making the household restless, it is better that I do him this favor today, so he might remember my kindness in the future. What a sensible good child, my mother Law sighed. Jaehong is young and hot blooded, and doesn't know how to cherish people. From now on, mother will cherish you. Having said that, she summoned the head matron, retrieved the matching token keys to the storehouse, and the land deeds to several prosperous shops, and handed them all over to me. She was compensating me on behalf of her son. I properly accepted the items, and my mother Law also breathed a sigh of relief. Ah Wu, rest assured. I will certainly reprimand Jaehong, and make sure he doesn't favor concubines over his wife. Returning from Fusho Hall to my Juming courtyard, before I could even take a sip of hot tea, Samonin impatiently came knocking at my door. The visitor was none other than Liu Wanyin, the pure and unblemished white moonlight in Shen Jaehong's heart. Her birth mother was my mother Law's own cousin. After being widowed, she remarried, taking her along, but her stepfather disliked her. Out of pity, my mother Law brought her to live permanently at the Marquis Manor. She and Shen Jaehong were childhood sweethearts, who had long pledged themselves to each other. But they knew in their hearts that with Liu Wanyin's status of depending on others, wanting to become the lady of the house at the Marquis Manor, was nothing but a pipe dream. So they patiently bided their time, waiting for me to marry into the Marquis Manor with my generous dowry, waiting for me to pave the way for them. Seeing that pitiful face of hers, I recalled how I was manipulated by her in my previous life. Sister Law, I heard from the servants that you actually agreed to let cousin take Lin Roe as a concubine? She asked urgently as soon as she entered. I sat upright in the rosewood chair, nodding with a smile. That is right. Liu Wanyin became anxious and blurted out. How can this be acceptable? I looked at her with composure, saying nothing. Realizing her loss of composure, she hastily sat down beside me and put on a look of righteous indignation. Sister Law, I'm just standing up for you. You are the legitimate daughter of the Duke's mansion. What is that, Lin Roe? Just some orphan girl here to freeload. How is she worthy of serving the same husband as you? Cousin is truly confused. Having a heavenly beauty like you isn't enough. He drags anyone into his room. In my previous life, she had also held my hand and said these very words. That Lin Roe and I could fight to the death in the end was not only because Lin Roe herself was arrogant, but absolutely couldn't be separated from this Liu Wanyin fanning the flames behind the scenes. I quietly appreciated her performance before sighing softly. Wanyin, you haven't married yet. You don't understand the difficulties of us women in the inner quarters. Although Roe's family background isn't prominent, her father did save the old Marquise's life. Jaehong developing feelings out of gratitude is only natural. Moreover, my husband has already promised me that with Roe, no more people will be added to the inner quarters. Tell me, why should I bear the infamy of being jealous over a benefactor's daughter? Upon hearing the 4 words, no more people will be added, Liu Wanyin was so angry her breathing became erratic. All the unwillingness and bitter jealousy in her heart, now stuck in her throat, unable to swallow down or spit out. I didn't expose her. Instead, I enthusiastically pulled her along to discuss what color silk should be hung at the concubine. Then taking ceremony 5 days later, after she left on pins and needles, making excuses to escape, the smile on my face instantly vanished. My personal maid Jingxin said with reddened eyes, "Madam, the young master is bullying you too much. The young miss is right. We should return to the Duke's manor right now and ask the master and madam to uphold justice for you." Uphold justice how? I looked at her coldly. It would only get me an insincere apology from Jaehong at best. What use is that to me? I've already married into the Marquis Manor. Even if he takes 100 concubines, My parents can't just let me divorce and return home. They certainly love me, but they care more about the Duke's Manor centuries-old reputation. If one day, my reputation is ruined, the Duke's Manor will also abandon me without hesitation. Jinxian's face turned deathly pale. Having grown up with me since childhood, she naturally understood the ruthlessness of great aristocratic families. Then, madam, what should we do? I reached out and gently stroked my flat belly, my eyes determined as iron. Don't worry, as long as I don't make any mistakes, the Duke's Manor will forever be my support. And this Jing'an Marquis Manor will sooner or later become mine and mine alone. Calculating based on my previous life's memories, that child who never got to meet me had already taken root and sprouted in my womb at this moment. In the following days, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to organizing this concubine.I taking ceremony for my husband. I personally took Lin Roe to the largest silver shop in Shengjing to have a complete set of jewelry made, and also hired embroiderers from Jiangnan to tailor ceremonial robes for her. I settled her in Hanglin Courtyard, the courtyard closest to Shen Zhaiheng's outer study. I picked precious Ru kiln vases from the storehouse, and had Taihu rocks moved in to build a rockery with rare flowers and exotic plants filling the entire courtyard. The old matrons in the household advised me that I must not give a concubine such extravagant treatment, but I covered my lips with a handkerchief and sighed softly. Matron, you don't understand. How am I elevating someone else? I'm preserving my husband's dignity. Who told her to be the one closest to the Marquise's heart now? Lin Roe was already arrogant by nature, and with me fanning the flames like this, she became even more insufferably haughty. Whenever anyone in the household slightly displeased her, she would make trouble over it. When the servants came crying to me, I would always say, just bear with it a little. Before long, all the servants in the Marquise's household understood. Mistress Lin was the apple of the Marquise's eye, and even the legitimate wife had to yield to her. The 7th day of the 11th month, an auspicious day. Early in the morning, I summoned Lin Roe to my inner chamber and handed her an extremely valuable rosewood brocade box. This is the Kunling pill bestowed by Her Majesty the Empress Dowager from the palace during my wedding. I looked at her steadily. There are only 2 in total, a priceless treasure for aiding conception. Today is your joyous day, so I'm rewarding you with one. I hope you'll soon bear children for the Marquis Manor. Lin Roe snatched the brocade box. Even her words of thanks were perfunctory, her face full of arrogance. Rest assured, madam. With how much the Marquis dotes on me, I will definitely be the first to bear a son for the Marquis Manor. After she left, Jinxian stamped her feet in anger. Madam, she dared to refer to herself as I in front of you. Why did you even give her something as precious as the Kunling pill? Just a greedy, vicious dog. If you want her to bite someone, you have to feed her enough meat and bones first. I caressed the rouge on my nails, smiling coldly. In my previous life, though Lin Roe didn't directly harm me, the child in my womb was indeed lost during a scuffle with her. In this life, using her to set up my scheme, I feel perfectly at ease, without a trace of guilt. To prevent Shen Zhaiheng from neglecting Lin Roe tonight, out of consideration for Liu Wanyan's feelings, I specifically ordered all the wine in Henglenyuan to be replaced with strong liquor that hits hard. Fruit wine is soft and sweet on entry, yet extremely intoxicating. I know Lin Roe's methods. As long as Shen Zhaiheng steps into Henglenyuan tonight, that Kunling pill will certainly exert its maximum effect. Sure enough, when Lin Roe came to serve tea the next morning, although there was a hint of weariness in her eyes, her cheeks were flushed red, and every corner of her eyes and brows was full of satisfaction. The maid who inquired quietly reported back that Henglenyuan didn't rest until the 4th watch last night. Having died once, that pitiful bit of love I had for Shen Zhaiheng had long turned to ashes. Learning that he was entangled intimately in bed with another, not only did I not feel sad, but I found it extremely satisfying. I drank the tea Lin Roe offered, and led her to Fushutang to pay respects to my mother, Zan in Zan Law. Inside Fushutang, Liu Wanyin was standing behind my mother Zan-in-Zan-La, massaging her back. Seeing Lin Rui's charming appearance, the jealousy and hatred in Liu Wanyin's eyes almost materialized into actual daggers. My mother Zan-in-Zan-La granted her a seat, and Lin Rui unceremoniously sat down alongside me. "How dare you, concubine Lin? Did the old madam tell you to sit?" Liu Wanyin suddenly attacked, scolding harshly. "You're nothing more than half a servant bought through purchase. Where is your place to sit in this room? Hurry up and stand behind the principal wife to serve." These words of hers, on the surface, were to uphold my dignity as the legitimate wife, but in reality were to vent the flames of jealousy in her own heart. I interjected at the right moment, smiling graciously and magnanimously. "Mother, concubine Lin worked hard serving the Marquis last night. I have no shortage of servants by my side, so let her sit and rest. If she is worn out, when Ji-hung returns from court, I'm afraid he'll feel distressed." My mother Zan-in-Zan-La shook her head helplessly. "Awuyu child, your temperament is just too soft." But in the end, she still tacitly allowed Lin Rui to sit down. I watched coldly from the sidelines, clearly seeing Liu Wanyin's fingers wringing the silk handkerchief in her hands so tightly that her knuckles turned white. From this morning's greeting ritual onward, Liu Wanyin and Lin Rui officially tore off their masks. Liu Wanyin, under the banner of establishing rules for the mistress, went to make things difficult for Lin Rui every few days. And Lin Rui, whose appetite I had whetted, how could she endure such treatment? She directed all the countless tricks she'd used against me in her previous life onto Liu Wanyin. And me in one hand, I earnestly advised Liu Wanyin. "Wanyin, she is the person closest to the Marquise's heart. Don't provoke her, lest you hurt your cousin's feelings." On the other hand, I sent streams of premium bloodbirds' nests and shoe brocade as gifts to Hengluan courtyard, having someone pass along the message. The mistress is magnanimous. It is Miss Biao, who cannot tolerate the concubine. The mistress has already reprimanded Miss Biao, and hopes the concubine will serve the Marquis with peace of mind. Thus, the flames of war between the two grew ever more intense. "Hold up, did you sisters take notes? This is what real gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss looks like." Okay, in her past life, the female lead went down herself to fight, but ended up covered in filth and got a bad reputation for being jealous. This life she directly transformed into a high-level player Finner Palace angel investor, giving money when asked, giving medicine when needed, giving face when required, playing the whole let them fight card. The scumbag thinks he is a master at playing both sides, but he has already become an NPC on the female lead's chessboard. Now watching these three weirdos bite each other in the pit they dug themselves. It is really too satisfying. Those two, one was the openly favored new darling, the other was the true love hidden in the shadows. These two women fought until the Marquis Manor was turned upside down. Shen Ji-hung, caught in the middle with a splitting headache, simply used the excuse that the Ministry of Revenue was busy settling the year Zan taxes, staying at the office night after night, not even daring to return home. With him not returning to the manor, I was happy to enjoy the peace and quiet. I used this half-month or so to meet with all the steward women in the Marquis Manor, both big and small, employing both kindness and authority. By the end of the 11th month, I had firmly grasped the manor's internal affairs in my hand, just waiting for the perfect opportunity to replace those in key positions with my own people. Mid-Zan 12th month, just after a heavy snow, I was checking the year Zan end gift ledgers to be sent to various Marquis and Duke manors with my mother Zan-in-Zan-La. While talking, I unconsciously ate an entire plate of sour green plums down to the last one. "Ah, Zan Wu, you're eating so many sour plums. Won't your teeth go numb?" My mother Zan-in-Zan-La stopped the abacus in her hands, looking at me with surprised uncertainty. I lowered my head with feigned shyness. "Mother, you jest. I don't know what has come over me these past few days, but I've been particularly craving sour things." My mother Zan-in-Zan-La was experienced after all. She suddenly stood up, suppressing the wild joy in her heart, urging repeatedly, Quick, quick, take the token and summon the best physician in the capital. The old physician was soon invited to the manor, through a silk handkerchief. He barely touched my pulse before smiling, standing up, and cupping his hands. Congratulations. Old madam? Congratulations, madam who? Madam's pulse is smooth and round like a pearl. You are already 3 months pregnant. My mother Zanlaw was so overjoyed that tears filled her eyes, chanting Buddha's name repeatedly. Good, good, Wu, you silly child. You didn't even know you were with child. Quick, send a fast horse to the yamen to call the Marquis back. He is going to be a father. I lowered my eyes with a faint smile. From the corner of my eye, I saw Liu Wanyin standing beside my mother Zanlaw, her face already pale as paper, the gaze she directed at my belly carrying a sinister coldness. Mother? Wait a moment. I called out to the servant who was about to run outside, then turned to my mother Zanlaw and said gently, Since the physician is here, why don't we go to Henglin Courtyard and have him check on concubine Lin's health as well? My mother Zanlaw's mind was now entirely on the legitimate grandson in my belly. She waved her hand carelessly. Fine. Let's go have a look. Upon arriving at Henglanuan, the old physician had just placed his fingers on Lin Roe's wrist when a smile appeared on his face again. Concubine Lin is also with child, just over a month along. I clapped my hands and laughed heartily, ordering Jinxian to reward the physician generously. Lin Rue, beside herself with joy, stroked her flat belly and said in a coquettish voice, If the Marquis knew about this, who knows how happy he'd be. I looked toward Liu Wanyin with a beaming smile. At that moment, I clearly saw the light in Liu Wanyin's eyes completely extinguish, replaced by the despair of a cornered beast and bone, and deep hatred. Shen Jiheng was urgently summoned back to the residence by a servant. When entering, he was running so hastily that he nearly tripped over the threshold. Looking at me and Lin Rue, both pregnant at the same time, a trace of complicated tenderness flashed in his eyes. In my previous life, when he learned I was with child, he had also felt a moment of genuine joy. Unfortunately, that bit of joy quickly vanished under Lin Rue's tears and Liu Wanyin's instigation. In the end, he even tacitly allowed Lin Rue to harm my unborn child. But this life is different. Lin Rue is also pregnant. In Liu Wanyin's eyes, the greatest eyesore will no longer be me, but that Lin Rue, who flaunts her power daily relying on her favor. Let them fight each other. I only need to protect my precious legitimate son. To demonstrate my dignity as the legitimate wife, my mother Zanlaw deliberately said in front of everyone, Awu, you're carrying the Marquis Manor's eldest legitimate son. Your hard work and contributions are immense. Whatever rare treasure you desire, just say the word, and I'll have Jiheng find it for you. I furrowed my brows slightly, supporting my forehead to put on a weak appearance. Thank you for mother's care. It is just that I've been suffering from severe morning sickness these past few days, and my body is always exhausted. With the year's end approaching, the manor has complicated social exchanges to handle. I'm afraid I have the will but lack the strength. How about temporarily handing over the steward's token to Wan Yin and asking her to manage the household on my behalf? My mother Zanlaw slapped her thigh. Look at this mind of mine. I was so busy being happy, right? Now stabilizing your pregnancy is most important. Wan Yin, you help your sister Zanlaw share the burden for a while and hand things back over after the first lunar month. Why should she manage the household? Lin Rue immediately panicked. A cousin who is an outsider and hasn't even married yet. Why should she interfere with the Marquis Manor's domestic affairs? If Madame is unwell, this concubine is in perfectly good spirits. This concubine can take over. Lin Rue wasn't stupid. She knew full well that she and Liu Wanyin were like fire and water. Once Liu Wanyin gained control of household management, her good days would be over. However, before I could speak, my mother Zanlaw had already shouted sternly, How audacious! If we don't let my niece manage things, Are we supposed to let a concubine like you be in charge? Ava Corporation. Don't forget, you're still carrying the Marquis Manor's flesh and blood in your belly. Usually, it is fine for you all to be petty and jealous. But if you harm the pregnancy by fighting for power, I definitely won't let you off. My mother Zanin Zanlaw's words seemed to be scolding Lin Rowe, but in reality, she was also warning Liu Wanyin. Just like that, the authority to manage the household fell into Liu Wanyin's hands with complete justification. On the first day of gaining the household management authority, Liu Wanyin used the New Year staff arrangements as an excuse to plant her own people in each courtyard. In my Zhuming courtyard, there was also an added second Zan class maid named Qiyu, responsible for tea, water, and cleaning in the outer rooms. I secretly instructed Jingxin that under no circumstances should Qiyu be allowed to step foot into the inner chambers, and even more so, she must not be allowed to touch any food or pregnancy Zan stabilizing medicine that goes into my mouth. Jingxin was prudent in her actions. Even the water for boiling medicine was drawn from the well by herself, and she guarded the red clay brazier without leaving it for a moment. In the blink of an eye, it was New Year's Eve on the 30th day of the 12th month. According to protocol, I should have accompanied my mother Zanin Zanlaw to the palace to attend the palace banquet. But I used the excuse of severe morning sickness and being unable to stand the smell of meat, and asked Shen Jiheng to request leave from the palace on my behalf. As soon as Shen Jiheng left for the banquet, Jingxin quietly entered the inner chamber and whispered in her ear, "Madam." This servant saw with her own eyes Madame Zhou from the kitchen hiding behind the rockery, whispering with Qiyu from our courtyard. Madame Zhou was the wet nurse Liu Wanyin brought with her when she entered the Marquise's manor. I fiddled with the silver frost charcoal in my hand warmer and sneered. Liu Wanyin finally couldn't hold back and was about to make her move. I pulled Jingxin over and instructed her solemnly. At tonight's New Year's Eve family banquet, you'll attend with me. But remember, no matter what happens, even if the sky falls, you must not leave the old madam's side for even a moment, understood? Madam, your morning sickness is so severe. Won't you return to your quarters to rest? I'm talking about you. I gripped her hand tightly. Never leave the elder sight. That is your trump card for staying alive. Sure enough, that night shortly after the family banquet at Fusho Hall began, an unfamiliar little maid came running over in a panic, looking for Jingxin, lowering her voice to say that a side room at Zhuming Courtyard had caught fire and needed her to rush back immediately to take charge of the situation. Jingxin kept my instructions firmly in mind and immediately raised her voice, rebuking in front of my mother Zan and Zan Law. Nonsense, cursing our own courtyard to catch fire on New Year's Eve. Today is New Year's Eve. Even if the old women had a few too many drinks and are causing trouble, just let them be. Madam is currently with child and suffering from severe morning sickness. If I leave, who will attend to Madam's medicine? Whatever earth-shattering matter it is can wait until tomorrow. Upon hearing this, my mother Zanin Zanlaw nodded approvingly. Awu, you are quite a loyal and sensible girl. I took the opportunity to recline on the soft couch. Jingxin, did you hear what the old madam said? Your only duty tonight is to keep me company for the New Year's Eve vigil. The little maid who came to deliver the message, seeing that her plan to lure the tiger away from the mountain had failed, stood there stupefied for a long while before finally slinking away dejectedly. As midnight approached, firecrackers crackled to bid farewell to the old year. Just as the entire household was celebrating joyously, Lin Rowe's personal maid came tumbling and crawling into Fusho Hall, shrieking miserably. Bleeding. Old madam, help, our mistress is bleeding. The music throughout the hall came to an abrupt halt. The prayer beads in my mother Zan in Zanlaw's hand dropped heavily to the floor. What did you say? Mistress started complaining of severe stomach pains half an hour ago. We thought it was indigestion from the New Year's Eve dinner, but who knew when we checked just now? She is bleeding. Quickly get the token to fetch the physician. I made a show of getting up to head outside. Mother Zan and Zanlaw pressed me back onto the soft couch and barked orders at Nanny Lee beside her. Quick, Escort madam back to bamboo tea courtyard to rest. In this freezing weather, if anything happens to the precious grandson in madam's belly, I'll hold you all accountable. She turned to me and said, Awu, this pregnancy of yours is precious. You must not be frightened. As for the Henglin courtyard matter, let Wan Yin handle it. Your daughter Zanin Zan Law obeys. I lowered my head obediently. Surrounded by Nanny Li and Jink Sin, I returned safely to bamboo tea courtyard, wrapped myself in the brocade quilt scented with warm fragrance, and fell into a deep sleep. The morning of the first day of the first lunar month. Before I had even washed up, Jinxin lifted the bed curtain with joy written all over her face and said in a lowered voice, Madam, Ava Corporation had a miscarriage. She continued through gritted teeth. That person is truly vicious, insisting that there was something wrong with the lotus cakes our bamboo tea courtyard sent over last night. When the Marquis returned from the banquet, he was so furious he wanted to come interrogate you. Fortunately, last night this servant faithfully followed your teachings and never left the old madam's side. The old madam personally vouched for you, and the Marquis had no choice but to detain Qiu, who was responsible for delivering the cakes. I picked up the hot tea to moisten my throat, feeling nothing but immense satisfaction in my heart. In my previous life, Lin Rue caused me to lose my child. In this life, karma has finally come around for her to taste this herself. Jinxin asked innocently, Madam, do you think Qiu will expose Miss Biao? If the Marquis finds out how vicious Miss Biao is, he'll definitely kick her out of the manor, right? When that happens, with all these annoying people gone from the Marquis's side, he'll be able to wholeheartedly live with you, madam. I lowered my eyes and sneered. Silly girl. Shen Jiheng interrogating Qiu overnight wasn't to seek justice for Lin Rue at all. It was to cover up everything for Liu Wanyin before the authorities got involved. Shen Jiheng's favoritism toward Liu Wanyin had already twisted to the point where he could shield her from anything she did. As for why Liu Wanyin insisted on acting through Zhuming Court, because she was too greedy. She wanted both to eliminate Lin Rue's child and pin the crime of murdering the Marquis Manor's bloodline on me. As long as I, the legitimate wife, fell from grace, she could legitimately continue monopolizing the household management authority. Unfortunately for her, she failed to anticipate that I would hold back and have Jinxin establish an alibi for herself in front of everyone. Left with no way out, she could only bite the bullet and have Qiu deliver the pastries. Help me change clothes quickly. I stood up and straightened my garment. We're going to Fusho Hall. At Fusho Hall, Shen Jiheng wore a black everyday robe, his eyes full of bloodshot veins, reporting the results of his thorough investigation to my mother, Zanin Zanlaw. Mother, that maid Qiu killed herself out of fear of punishment. Before dying, she confessed that there was nothing wrong with the hibiscus cakes. It was Roe herself who was gluttonous and ate cold food, which caused the miscarriage. The imperial physician also examined the cake crumbs and confirmed they were harmless. He spoke these words without changing his expression, cleaning Liu Wanyin's name completely. Though I had anticipated this, hearing such a distortion of the truth still made my teeth go cold. Mother Zanin Zanlaw's face was frosty as ice. Is this true? Your son investigated it personally. There are absolutely no falsehoods. Mother Zanin Zanlaw sighed dejectedly, closed her eyes, and asked no more questions. After Shen Jiheng left, I stepped forward and said to Mother Zanin Zanlaw, Mother, tomorrow is the second day of the first lunar month, according to the customs of the Great Zhao Kingdom. This daughter Zanin Zanlaw should return to her maiden home for a visit. Mother Zanin Zanlaw's brows furrowed slightly. Awu, you're pregnant right now, and the snowy ground is slippery. It is really not suitable for the toil of traveling by carriage. Why not have Jiheng prepare generous gifts and go to the Duke's manor in your place? Mother, I looked straight into Mother Zanin Zanlaw's eyes, my voice carrying a trace of sorrow and determination. Precisely because I'm pregnant, I must go back. Ava Corporation's child was lost inexplicably, and I absolutely cannot let my child follow in those footsteps, only at the Zhongguo Duke's manor. In this place where no one dares reach their hands in, can I feel at ease protecting my pregnancy? Mother Zanlaw's expression changed, and she tried to explain. What happened to Ava Corporation was her own carelessness. If she dares to harbor resentment toward you because of this. I sharply interrupted her. Mother knows perfectly well in her heart that who I'm guarding against is not Lin Roe at all. I don't believe that after decades of navigating the inner chambers, my mother Zanlaw can't see what is really going on between Shen Jiaheng and Liu Wanyin. She is just covering up the family scandal, unwilling to expose it. Sure enough, my mother Zanlaw's eyes instantly dimmed. She let out a long sigh, her tone carrying a plea. Wu Jiaheng is just temporarily confused. You are the legitimate wife of the Marquise's household, properly married through formal matchmaking. Whether it is Ava Corporation or Shangyao, neither can surpass you. Once you safely give birth to a legitimate son, and he becomes a father, he'll naturally settle down. I lowered my head and stroked my belly, concealing the mockery in my eyes, and obediently replied. Yes, your daughter Zanlaw understands. Jiaheng may be young and romantic, but he surely cherishes his own flesh and blood. Hearing my words, my mother Zanlaw finally relented and permitted me to return to the Duke of Zhengguo's manor to nurture the pregnancy. Upon returning to Juming Courtyard, I immediately summoned my trusted sworn brother Shi-san. That maid called Chuya, who died in the front courtyard last night. Jiaheng said she took her own life out of guilt, but I suspect it is not that simple. Take some people to investigate thoroughly, and find a way to lead the people around Lin Roe to uncover the truth. Make them see clearly how Chuya really died. Shi-san received the order and left. I then instructed Jingshin, go find a few tight and lipped, loyal old women, and pretend to gossip outside Henglanyuan. Say that the lord originally wanted to take the young cousin as a concubine, but feared that I, his legitimate wife, wouldn't allow it. So he first elevated Ava Corporation as a trial. Who knew I would agree right away? The young cousin's efforts were all in vain, and Ava Corporation just picked up the scraps. No wonder the two of them are fighting like this. Lin Roe had just lost her child, and was already on the verge of collapse. If she were to find out that the exclusive favor she took such pride in was nothing but a lie, that her position in Shen Jiaheng's eyes couldn't even compare to a single strand of Liu Wanyin's hair. With her arrogant temperament, she would surely do something extreme. At dusk, Shi-san quietly returned through the back door and reported to me. Madam predicted correctly. Concubine Lin's people went to verify the truth, and after they returned, Concubine Lin sat motionless in her room for 2 hours. No crying, no fussing. But then sent someone to the black market to purchase a packet of unknown powder at great expense. I toyed with my finger guards, the corners of my mouth curling into an icy smile. The kindling was already in place, just waiting for the fire to ignite. On the second morning of the first lunar month, heavy snow fell. Shen Jiaheng accompanied me onto the carriage heading to my parents' home. His eyes were dark, encircled, and his expression extremely weary. As the carriage swayed, I pretended to doze off when suddenly, I felt an icy hand covering my lower abdomen. Realizing it was Shen Jiaheng, he forcibly suppressed the nausea churning in my stomach and kept my eyes closed. It wasn't until the carriage entered through the vermilion lacquered gates of the Duke Protector's manor that my taut nerves finally relaxed completely. After paying respects to my parents, I excused myself claiming pregnancy fatigue and went straight back to my maiden chamber to rest, leaving Shen Jiaheng in the front hall to play chess with father. It wasn't until evening that Madame Li from Fusho Hall came stumbling into the Duke's manor, disheveled and pale as a sheet. Lord Marquise, Madam, something terrible has happened at the manor. The old madam fainted from acute agitation. Please return immediately to take charge of the situation. And so, under my parents' shocked gazes at the Duke's manor, we hurriedly returned. The moment we stepped into the Marquis manor, I sensed something was amiss with the atmosphere in the courtyard. My mother Zanlaw had just regained consciousness and was leaning against her pillow, tears streaming down her aged face, trembling uncontrollably as she pointed toward Henglian courtyard. Shen Zhiheng rushed into Henglian courtyard first, and immediately after, a desperate wail like that of a wounded beast erupted from within. Just as I was about to follow inside, my mother Zan grabbed my arm tightly. "Awu, you're with child! Don't go in! Wanyin! Something's happened to her!" From inside the courtyard came Lin Rue's uncontrolled laughter. "My lord, did you see? I've avenged our child. It was her who ordered Chuyu to do it. I poured all that powder on her. I even ruined her face. Now that she is gone, will you only love me?" I understood in an instant. Lin Rue had learned the truth and completely broken down in my previous life. When I was confined to the manor, he had also lost control of my emotions. Day after day, I fantasized about Shen Zhaiheng coming to take me home, fantasized that he still loved me, until the very end. When I looked at my haggard reflection in the wash basin, I finally realized how laughable it was to place my hopes on a heartless man. And Lin Rue chose the most extreme path of mutual destruction. "You poisonous woman. Lunatic." In the courtyard, Shen Zhiheng's curses intertwined with the sound of shattering porcelain. I pulled my fox fur tighter around me and stood quietly in the snow, listening. After a long while, I said to my mother Zan, "The night is late and the wind is strong. Mother, please take care of yourself. Let this daughter Zan escort you back to your room." The next morning, the snow stopped. Jingshin came to report with a pale face. "Madam, officials from the capital magistrate have come to the manor. The lord has announced publicly that concubine Lin, driven mad by the pain of losing her child, mistakenly believed that Miss Biao had harmed her. While you and the lord were visiting your natal family, she struck against Miss Biao and ruined Miss Biao's face. After regaining her senses and realizing the gravity of her sins, she hanged herself." I let out a light chuckle. "Hanged herself?" From that crazed tone of hers yesterday, it was clear she wanted to survive and seek favor. It must be that Shen Zhaiheng feared official investigation. Aunts Lin Rue exposed everything Liu Wanyin had done, and their secret affair, the centuries-old reputation of the Jing'an Marquis Manor, would be destroyed in an instant, and his own official career would come to an end. So, without hesitation, he secretly eliminated Lin Rue. OMG, where exactly is this scumbag's bottom line? 1 second it is, true love conquers all, covering up for love. The next second, for his own career and reputation, he personally eliminates his so-called beloved concubine to silence her. This is exactly why we say trash is trash. In the eyes of an extremely selfish man, no white moonlight, no cinnabar mole can compare to his own interests. But real talk, seeing these two scheming, supporting female characters calculate against each other, and both end up defeated, all I can think is, karma is a mirror. Madam, the Marquise is currently kneeling in the courtyard of Fusho Hall, begging for forgiveness, Jingshin said. I nodded, changed into plain clothes, and went to pay respects to my mother Zanlaw. My mother Zanlaw had fallen ill, the entire room filled with the bitter smell of medicine. She gripped my hand, as if clutching onto a last lifeline. Who could have expected Ava Corporation to be so extreme? Fortunately, Awu, you returned to your parents' home yesterday. The Bodhisattva protected you. Neither you nor the baby were harmed. Now that those people are all gone, you and Zhiheng can surely live well together. This is the mother Zanlaw of a wealthy noble family. Even if her son is rotten to the core, as long as he can still produce a legitimate eldest grandson, the daughter Zanlaw must swallow all grievances and forgive magnanimously. I lowered my head and wiped my tears. Mother is right. It is just that, in this freezing cold weather, my husband has been kneeling outside all night. What if he develops a chronic illness? A trace of heartache flashed in my mother Zanlaw's eyes, but she still stubbornly said, he caused such a disaster, he should kneel and learn his lesson. I personally served my mother Zanlaw her medicine. put on a cloak, and walked into the snowy courtyard. Shen Jiheng knelt in the snow, his shoulders covered with accumulated snow, his hands frozen purple. This upright gentleman, praised by everyone in the capital city, had long been a decayed empty shell inside. I stuffed the warm hand warmer from my bosom into his hands, crouched down, my eyes full of feigned concern. Husband, I pleaded with mother on your behalf, but mother is still angry. Warm your hands for now. Shen Jiheng's eyes, dead as stagnant water, suddenly burst with light. As if grasping his last redemption, he gripped my hand tightly in return, his voice hoarse and tearful. Ah Wu, you're not angry with me. I suppressed my revulsion and curved my lips into a perfect arc. You're the father of the child in my belly. How could I truly abandon you? Ah Wu, I was wrong. I was blinded and couldn't see through those people's schemes. Sanli, you are the purest and kindest. Shen Jiheng was filled with regret. I swear, from now on, I will never take concubines. I'll treat you with mutual respect and grow old together with you. He probably never dreamed that when his reputation was ruined by two women, his legitimate wife would be so virtuous and kind, willingly covering for him. The wind is strong outside. Ah Wu, you're pregnant. Go inside quickly, don't catch an illness. He was unprecedentedly considerate. Back at Juming Courtyard, Jingxin let out a long sigh of relief. Madam, after going through this great ordeal, the young master must have completely repented. You've finally made it through. If it weren't for those 30 years of imprisonment in my past life, I might have truly been moved by this prodigal son's return act. But at this moment, I only find it utterly laughable. I ordered Jingxin to bring scalding hot water, and washed my hands that Shen Jiheng had touched a full 3 times with fragrant soap, until my skin was scrubbed red. Jingxin felt sorry for me as she dried my hands, saying softly, Madam, don't be disgusted. Now that all the eyesores in the manor are gone, Aunt's madam gives birth to the legitimate eldest son. The mother will rise in status through her son. In the future, when you become the old madam, won't this marquee manor be yours to run? Yes, become the old madam. But Shen Jiheng is strong and healthy. He could easily live another 40 or 50 years. I've been reborn, so why should I waste another few decades on this hypocrite who is fake to the extreme? Outside the window, heavy snow was falling. I watched the steam rolling from the red clay stove, a trace of determination flashing in my eyes. I suddenly stood up. Jingxin, come with me to the small kitchen. In the kitchen, the cook was preparing to brew colds and dispelling medicinal soup for Shen Jiheng. I personally took the clay pot and instructed. The Marquis knelt in the snow all night. The cold has entered his body. Drinking just ginger soup won't be enough. Fetch 2 slices of premium Korean ginseng, and add them to this bowl of ordinary cold and dispelling medicinal wine. Warm it on the stove. During this chaotic moment, I secretly made some arrangements that no one noticed. All of this took advantage of the Meslin Rouet left behind. The medicinal wine had a deep color and strong aroma, perfectly concealing all traces. When leaving the kitchen, Jingxin looked at me worriedly. Madam, it is good that you've come to terms with it. I turned my head to look at her. I've come to terms with it. Yet, you don't seem happy for me. Jingxin's eyes reddened. Her voice choked. This servant just feels wronged on Madam's behalf. She was a loyal and devoted good girl. Though she didn't know the suffering I endured in my past life, she instinctively sensed the countless wounds in my heart. I patted the back of her hand. It is fine, let's go to Fusho Hall. As soon as I entered the inner chamber of Fusho Hall, I dropped to my knees with a thud before my mother, Zan Law's bed, tears streaming down my face. Mother, my husband knows he was wrong. In this freezing cold weather, if he damages his health, how will the Jing'an Marquis manor continue the family line? I beg Mother to forgive him this once. My mother Zan Law already felt sorry for her son. She was just putting on a show for me. Seeing me being so virtuous, She seized the opportunity and quickly ordered Nanny Li to go to the courtyard and tell Shen Jiaheng to get up. I ran even faster than Nanny Li, rushing into the courtyard and helping Shen Jiaheng up with a face full of concern. "Husband, get up quickly." I had the small kitchen prepare some ginseng wine to ward off the cold, along with several exquisite side dishes. "Go back to the study and take a hot bath. Drink the medicinal wine to break a sweat. And get a good sleep." Shen Jiaheng was so moved that tears welled up in his eyes, gripping my hand tightly in return. "Awu, in this world, only you treat me with the truest heart. If I betray you in this life, may 10,000 arrows pierce my heart." I quickly withdrew my hand, putting on a bashful expression as I pushed him gently. "Hurry and go, husband. Don't let the medicinal wine cool down and lose its efficacy. I'll stay here and keep mother company." Shen Jiaheng looked at me with eyes full of tenderness, then turned and strode away. Watching this scene, my mother Jianan Zanla contentedly took my hand. "Awu, after the storm comes the calm. Men, well, as long as they can recognize their mistakes and change, that is good. Once the ritual is performed to dispel the bad luck, your good days are still ahead." I nodded obediently, chatting and laughing with my mother Zan in Zanla. About half a shichen later, a servant from the outer study stumbled and crawled into the Hall of Fortune and Longevity. "Something terrible has happened. Old madam, the Marquise. He has had an accident." The smile on my mother Jianan Zanla's face instantly froze, her entire body as if struck by lightning stiffening on the bed. I viciously pinched my own thigh, forcing out 2 streams of tears, letting out a grief-stricken wail, rolled my eyes back, and fainted precisely into Jingshen's arms. When Jingshen woke me, the Marquise's manor was already in complete chaos. The capital commandant personally led people to surround the manor for investigation. Shen Jiaheng's face was the color of gold paper. He had already died, and the suspicious powder residue discovered in the study, after comparison, was identical to what Lin Ruwei had bought at the black market back then. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. My mother Jianan Zanla, hair disheveled, shrieked hysterically. The commandant walked forward with a cold expression, holding up a case file from the capital magistrate from last night. "Old madam, please accept my condolences. According to our investigation, when Ava Corporation lost emotional control, she purchased this substance at the black market. Ava Corporation and Liu perished together, and residual powder must have been left at the scene. When the Marquis ordered the courtyard sealed, he was inadvertently contaminated. Or perhaps, careless kitchen servants mixed it into the medicinal wine." The commandant looked at the mother Jianan Zanla with sharp eyes. "Old madam, if it weren't for your manor's lord behaving improperly, causing the fire in the rear quarters, how could it have led to this chain of tragedies? This outcome is clearly a death warrant left behind by those 2 jealous women." The mother Jianan Zanla was left speechless by these words. The father Jianan Zanla's face turned ashen as he thumped his cane heavily on the ground. "Enough. Isn't this embarrassing enough already? Ah Wu is carrying the only legitimate bloodline of the manor. If the pregnancy is harmed, I will never forgive you." I became the youngest and most noble widow in the capital city of Shengjing. On the day of Shen Jiaheng's burial, my protective maternal family, the Duke Zhengguo's manor, united with the upright officials in court, and severely impeached the Jing'an Marquis manor in the imperial court, condemning Shen Jiaheng for favoring concubines while destroying his wife, and for lacking moral character. To appease the Duke Zhengguo's manor, the current emperor not only did not revoke the Jing'an Marquis title, but also issued an edict praising me, Ji Wu, as virtuous and gentle, specially conferring upon me the title of first-rank Lady of Annan, a status that even surpassed that of my mother Jianan Zanla. From then on, this Jing'an Marquis manor became completely and utterly my own domain. I replaced all the stewards in the manor with confidants from my own dowry. Me mother Jianan Zanla, knowing she was in the wrong, devoted herself to Buddhist prayers daily, and no longer dared to interfere in the slightest. Every year on the 7th day of the 5th month, I would have people prepare generous offerings and personally write down Shen Zhiheng's birth date and time to burn for him. Actually, I don't remember whether his birthday was on the 8th or 9th day, but I always write the 7th. Not only do I want him to lose everything, I also want him in that other world to not receive a single offering, to be a complete and utter pauper. 20 years later, my son came of age. Me father Zan and Zan Law, and my father jointly submitted a memorial, and my son formally inherited the title of Marquis of Jing'an. I handed over the annual task of burning paper offerings to him. He was also filial, and following the draft I left behind, wrote the 7th day of the 5th month every year, until the night before I died of old age with white hair. For the first time ever, I dreamed of Shen Zhiheng. In the dream, he wore tattered clothes, all skin and bones, and cried to me, "Ah, Wu, were you deceived by the servants? Why is it that after all these years, I haven't received a single copper coin over there?" Looking at his wretched appearance, I laughed until tears came out. "Is that so? Then I'll make sure to investigate properly when I get back." He was so moved he thanked me repeatedly. I knew it in this world. Only Ah Wu treats me the best. After waking from the dream, it was broad daylight. It happened to be the day of offering. Me eldest grandson came to my bedside holding a yellow paper. "Grandmother, please check if grandson has written great Zan grandfather's birth date correctly." I put on my reading glasses and looked at the 7th day of the 5th month written on it, nodding with satisfaction. "That is right, good child, burn it." Oh my God. This final burning the wrong birth chart setup is absolutely the best punchline of the entire piece. When it comes to killing with psychological torture, we gotta hand it to our Shiwu, making the scumbag a poor ghost in the underworld for decades, never knowing until death why he couldn't receive any money. That is really petty in the absolute best way possible. After reading this, Vera really feels deeply moved. In the international student circles here in America, I often see girls fighting and getting jealous with other girls over some guy who is actually rotten to the core, even deluding themselves into thinking they can't save him. But let me tell you a life truth. You can never wake up a scumbag who is pretending to sleep. When you discover that a relationship or a person is rotten to the bone, stop trying to fix him. Just like the female lead said, do you really want to endure his hypocrisy for decades more, until you become an old woman? No, take the power back. Secure your own bag. Be the CEO of your own life. Our female lead completed a full cleanup without dirtying her own hands. Became a first-rank lady at a young age, and her son inherited the title. This is what a true, clear-headed, and independent, satisfying story life looks like. All right, the main story was satisfying to read. But Vera knows your gossip. Loving souls are definitely still burning. Let's chat together. What do you think was Shiwu's most brilliant move after her rebirth? Ah, cheerfully agreeing to take Lin Roe as a concubine. Then turning the tables on Shen Zhiheng's scheme, while also earning the mother-in-law's sympathy B. Sparing no expense to elevate Lin Roe, making her arrogant and creating enemies. Stirring up conflict between her and Liu Wanyin C. Proactively handing over the stewardship rights to Liu Wanyin, luring her to reveal her true colors, and reaping the benefits as a bystander D. Setting up a scheme during the homecoming visit, letting Lin Roe discover the truth, leading to mutual destruction between the two. Don't forget to give me a like and follow. Love y'all. See you in the next story.